Welcome to Pardon the Intermission, a podcast that takes a look at movies, TV, and all things entertainment from the past, the present, and the future. Remember to subscribe and like the podcast and give a review. This helps out the podcast and is greatly appreciated. Now on to the show. Yes, hey everyone, welcome to Pardon the Intermission. I'm Eric.
And I'm Jason.
And thank you guys for joining us. As always, you can check out our social media at PTI_podcast. That's on X.
And on Facebook at Pardon the Intermission.
And we are starting to stick up content on YouTube and on Rumble.
Yeah.
So that would be under, just look up Pardon the Intermission.
Are you ready to rumble?
Rumble.
Yep,
I know, it's kind of like we're going that way. Anyway, hey, what we're here to do is we're here to talk about entertainment. And we actually, you and I both went at the same time to go see a very, I would say a very fun movie.
Yes, extremely fun.
What was it?
This movie was called The Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy, and we did a trailer reaction to it.
We did a trailer reaction to it, and we were both...
And let me ask you, from the trailer reaction,
yes.
Did it disappoint?
Hells to the no.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. I thought this was great. And you know what? We talked about it after the film where we both admitted, okay, this is not a movie that's going to win any Academy Awards. It's not going to be critically acclaimed by, Roger Ebert's dead, God rest his soul, but it's not going to be critically acclaimed, but it's just one of those films that you can just go to, watch, and enjoy. You don't go in with any expectations. You don't go in with any media hype. You don't go in with any pre-critical review. And I thought Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt had really, really good chemistry in this film. Yeah. I thought Ryan Gosling and Winston Duke, who was the stunt coordinator pal of his, had really great chemistry too. I thought the entire cast had some great chemistry there. And I got to say, as far as the stunt work went, in a movie that was about a stuntman, I thought the stunt work in this film was just top notch.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was amazing, bar none. From the car chases to the explosions to the fighting and everything else, it was just a really, really fun film, and I'm glad we went and saw it.
Yeah. It did not disappoint, that's for sure. No. I mean, okay, we talked originally. Now, The Fall Guy was based on a TV show that starred Lee Majors and Heather Thomas, which, sorry, spoilers, and there may be a few spoilers in here, folks, sorry. Yeah. So if you don't want the spoilers, it's a great movie for what it is. We loved it. Give it a thumbs up. But moving on now, Heather Thomas and Lee Majors actually make a little bit of a cameo.
They did?
I will say, though, I was disappointed that they weren't actually, it's in the credits scene. I wish they would have been in the movie itself. I kept waiting for them to be in the movie. And, Yeah.
Yeah, now see, I agree with you.
What do you think about that?
Well, okay, I agree with you, but with me, that really wasn't the make or break for me.
Sure. It wasn't a make or break either.
Yeah.
So, I just wish I would have seen him in. I mean, I think they could have, I don't know, put him in somewhere, dropped him in somewhere.
So I hear what you're saying. I got to tell you, though, I was really impressed with the way Lee Majors looks. He looks like he has not aged a bit. Yeah, that's either Botox gone right, or whereas with Heather Thomas, all due respect, a little Farrah Fawcett-ish here coming on in the later years.
Yeah, I gotta say, and I know, listen, it's I understand it's hard for women in Hollywood, and but. It was very interesting because I was looking at pictures of her and she looked really good, up until, I don't know what really happened. I don't know if maybe it was just, too much of the...
Possibly.
The enhancements there or whatever. But, it's kind of like, but...
something else that disappointed me about the film?
Yes.
Well, one of the lead actors in it, Hannah Waddingham, who played the producer friend, Gail.
Okay.
She was the owner of the soccer club in the series Ted Lasso on Apple TV.
Okay. Is that where she's from?
Well, which is one of the most brilliantly written shows ever. Got to see Ted Lasso if you haven't seen it. But Hannah Waddingham...
you told me that, and I still haven't watched it.
That's okay. We'll do that. We'll deal with that later. But Hannah Waddingham did not like her brown hair look. She had the brown
really?
I did not, because in Ted Lasso, she's full-on blonde.
Oh,
and with full-on blonde, she's like, holy moly.
Pretty stunning, huh?
Yeah, no, beautiful.
Yeah.
But with the brown hair, she's still beautiful, but with the brown hair, it just didn't look like a natural look like her blonde hair did. In fact, I didn't even know it was Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso until my wife pointed it out midway through the movie. She leans over and she says, isn't that Hannah Waddingham, the soccer owner from Ted Lasso? And when I saw a scene of her next, I took a really hard look. I'm like, oh my God, that is her from Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Hey, that's an actress though. That's an actress,
it
right?
is.
I mean,
Yes,
when
it
they can
is.
play a role, slip into a role.
Yes,
You know,
it is.
she doing the whole what's his face from Last of the Mohicans?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah, she doing the whole, where you don't really recognize her. I mean, she's completely
Right.
changing her look every
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
every part. So now this one is directed by how do you pronounce his last name? Is it David Leitich?
I think it's David Leitch.
Leach.
Yeah.
Now this guy, from what I hear, he was a actual stuntman
He was, yeah.
in the past, right?
Yeah, he was an actual stuntman in the industry for a number of years. That would explain the outstanding stunt work that was done in this movie.
Oh yeah, so he's done movies, Bullet Train, Fast and the Furious, huh?
Presents Hobbs and Shaw.
John
and he
Wick.
did John Wick. That's right.
Yeah,
He did do
yeah.
John
So
Wick.
he's done a lot of good movies here.
Deadpool 2. He did Deadpool 2. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Now,
my gosh. Okay.
It's funny because with Bullet Train, I know a lot of people either love
I
it
didn't
or
like
hate
Bullet
it.
Train.
You didn't like it.
I didn't like
I
Bullet
love it.
Train,
I like
yeah.
that kind of style, that fast pace.
Okay.
I just like that for some reason. But yeah. But I think he did a great. Here's the deal. I think he did a great job with this film because it paid homage to the TV show. It's funny. We just got the TV show was this. It was the same thing. It was it was a little bit different. The stunt guy Lee Majors was a bounty hunter. We talked about that. And this one. Ryan Gosling kind of gets into a little bit. He doesn't know. He thinks he's just a stunt man. He got hurt.
Yeah.
And so, they call him back in, what you're saying, the producer of the Gail, what's her name?
Gail.
Whatever her name was.
It's something or other.
Yeah, she calls him back in saying, hey, because he's got out of the movie business now for, it was like 2 years, 18 months, I think.
18 months, yeah.
And then she's like, hey, we need your help. The lead actor that he was the double for, the stunt man for.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, he's it's funny. I didn't really realize who that was until, and then I was like, wait, isn't that the guy they're gonna try to do James Bond with? And he's on
Yes.
Bullet Train. I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, that guy did. I don't know. He didn't look like that same guy to me.
He
either.
was also in Avengers: Age of Ultron. He played Quicksilver.
Oh, that's right. Oh
He
my
was
gosh,
Pietro
yeah.
Maximoff, aka Quicksilver.
Oh my gosh. So,
Yep.
where I was going with this though is that the guy ends up, getting called in. Ryan Gosling's character, Colt Seaver, ends up getting called in to just come in and do stunts, and then everything just goes haywire from there. Right?
It does. Yeah.
But they do a great job. Now I'm going to say this in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It looked like they had either a replica, maybe the exact truck. I need to look this up. Of the TV show though,
Yes.
of the actual Fall Guy, the Lee Majors. Anyway, the original TV show, what I was getting at, was known for that truck.
Yeah. Yep.
It had that truck, that GMC, and we talked about it on our previous podcast.
Yep.
And so it had that, and then even the truck, the modern truck that he used, was the same color. Exact same, the two-tone, exact same color palette of the GMC.
I know.
I was like, this is so cool. So they had a lot of good, what I'm getting at is they had a lot of good callbacks. And that's what I liked. And it
Easter
wasn't
eggs.
bad. Easter eggs.
Yes.
They had Miami Vice in there, which I thought was great.
And then they also had the scene there where he's driving the boat, and then boom, he throws the boat over the ramp there on that burning barge.
Yeah.
And that was reminiscent from Miami Vice there too. And he even made it a reference to that in the film where Ryan Gosling's character said, yeah, when he wore the Miami Vice jacket, he was asked about it. He said, yeah, it was like my first stunt gig or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
he was saying, I think he did the Miami Vice stunt show is what it was.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and that's
yeah.
what he was talking about. And he said he knew he could do it. He could do it blindfold. Of course, it was
Yep.
it was there was what do they call that? He was laying down the tracks ahead of time here,
Right.
for a scene coming up. He said I could do it blindfolded with my hands tied behind my back.
Yeah,
and then
that's
guess
right.
what?
He's in the boat with his hands tied behind his back.
He had to do it with his hands tied behind his back.
And
yeah.
he's driving the boat backwards. He's facing the other direction
Yeah.
while he's facing the back of the boat while at the same time trying to loosen
and with the
himself.
Miami Vice music playing, the theme song.
Yep, that was cool.
They did. They had a lot of great. I thought they had a lot of great callbacks in it to kind of that era of TV with different things. With a few different things. like you said, the chemistry between Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling was amazing.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt, man, I don't know. Every time I see her, I have a bigger crush on her every time I see her. She's one of those actresses because it's one of those actresses that she's not. She doesn't come across as just it's all about beauty. I mean, it's just there's something about her. She's just so genuine and like girl next door-ish, and you know what I mean. It's like, oh my gosh, she's just So she played that off really well in this movie.
She did,
and with Ryan Gosling, with both the way the actor, because he's kind of more of a quiet guy sometimes, and it just worked. It just worked. I mean,
it did. Yep, it worked very well.
Now the story, and I'm going to say too, the story it had some plot holes. The story wasn't perfect. by any means, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. And again, like Eric said, the story centers around Gosling's character being called back into a movie to be a stuntman again after 18 months off the job, and finds out he's woven into a little intrigue of attempted murder, and he gets caught in the middle of it there. So yeah, you're bound to be plot holes in that type of story.
Well,
right.
Ultimately, I mean, okay, like I said, spoilers here. Ultimately, what ends up happening is they're trying to frame him up. He finds out the producer and the lead actor are trying to frame him up to be the fall guy.
Yep.
Hence the name Fall Guy, to be the fall guy. And because the lead actor actually killed his double at the time, his stuntman, kind of accidentally, but they were goofing around and he killed him. So then, they're trying to frame him now as the fall guy. So, I mean, and it's kind of funny because the movie had a lot of references to Fall Guy. He got hurt when he was doing that falling stunt in the beginning, the fall guy. He was the fall guy for the murder thing. And then, it was really cool. I don't know. I'm going to say I really enjoyed myself with the movie. It's one of those movies, I mean, if you want to go and have a good time, this is the movie for you. I kind of turned off my brain and just enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. What were some of the other highlights for you, Jason?
Some of the highlights for me were that it kind of like, they're very similar to yours. For me, it harkened back to the days when I would always get excited for the next Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and Jean-Claude Van Damme action movie, because before the whole MCU and DC movie sci-fi craze came out, the action films we wanted to see were true action films. They had the big, they had the over exaggerated stunts, explosions, weaponry, and hand fights and kicking and everything like that. And that's what this movie had. It harkened back to the days when I was so excited to go see those other original action films directed by guys like John Woo and films directed by guys like John McTiernan, that I'm just like, okay, this is what the fun movies should be like.
Yeah.
And so that's what it brought out there for me. But it also, for me, kind of enhanced Ryan Gosling's versatility a little bit. Because we've seen him do myriad projects over the years, from a singing actor, a.k.a. La La Land And we've seen him play very dramatic roles, a.k.a. The Notebook. And now we're seeing him as starting to become kind of like a full-fledged action star.
Well, and then he kind of went to kind of an independent guy. I mean, he had with The Gray Man, Driver.
Yes. He was also outstanding in a movie called The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe.
Oh, that's right.
Which is fantastic and hilariously good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're starting to see a lot of Ryan Gosling's versatility, and I'm starting to feel like maybe, next Leonardo DiCaprio / Brad Pitt / George Clooney type here. Kind of just in terms of his versatility. Even though he's been in the biz for a while, he's done some A-list work with A-list people.
Yeah.
I feel like he's never had a chance to truly shine just on his own. And I think in this film, he had that chance to do that.
And I also think, I mean, he's, he seems like he's kind of found his niche, I think. I mean, with Barbie, he kind of hit that. Have you seen that yet?
No.
Okay. With Barbie, he kind of hit that. I think he kind of really solidified, his kind of like comedic role there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. He's just the likable kind of guy. He's kind of unassuming.
Yeah.
And I think going forward, that's probably what we're going to see him more in. Now, like this movie, I think was perfect. He's like the rom-com action guy.
Yeah.
Now with this movie too.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of movies. I can't remember. There was one. I can't remember what it was called. It was like bloody and gory, and I'm like, what is this movie Ryan Gosling was in? I wish I could. I don't know. It was a lot of blood, but it was another independent film. This was years ago. But it's like, man, this guy, he was kind of like going the action Johnny Depp. He's going a lot of independent films, but he's doing more action and more gore. As far as those type of films. But he's kind of broke out of that now, and he's with this. And I don't know. I just like his character. I like the characters he plays. I should say that he plays, just because I don't know. They're just kind of fun. You know what I mean? It's not too heavy.
Yeah, he seems to do the offbeat humor really well too.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of offbeat humor in this film, and so like a lot of subterfuge comedic lines that he said, very subtle like almost. And so I thought that he did. It kind of reminded me of his role in The Nice Guys, where he had a lot of those kind of under the cuff, offbeat comedic moments there in the film. Same thing here, in this movie as well. So yeah, that's something else I've kind of admired about him too.
Another thing I will say about this movie, it's pretty much low. I don't even think it hit the wokeism meter at all. I mean, to me, it didn't seem like there was anything, it was preachy at all, and it was just having fun. It knew what it was.
Yep.
And you have to have hats off to the director. He knew what it was, and he was just having fun with it.
Yeah,
Even Emily Blunt's part, and she's originally when they meet, she's a cinematographer.
Yeah.
And then when he gets called in, the reason he comes back in, the motivation is obviously because Emily Blunt's character is now the director of the movie.
Yeah.
And the producer is basically telling him, her, this movie, her directing career, is basically tied up in this movie.
Yeah.
And if it goes down, she goes down. So it's obviously his love. They had a relationship, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it and so, they fell apart when he got hurt. The relationship fell apart.
Yeah.
And you can still tell that he cares for her deeply.
Yeah.
So he wants to go in and try to help her and save this movie for her. That's his whole motivation for going back into the stunt game. Because at this point, that was the other thing we didn't really mention is that he got hurt. He got out of the stunt game. And he's trying to rehabilitate himself, but he's just basically just kind of living day to day. He's a valet parking cars,
right at a fancy Mexican restaurant.
And I don't mind. They have the same old, the tropes they use that the guy comes in with the cool car and says, "Hey, I know you. I reckon we were in a movie. Yep. Oh, this is what happened, And then and he's like, all right, and then he's like, now he's doing, he takes his car and he goes, you know what? You can just see in his mind, he's just thinking, F this, and he just goes, he starts doing donuts.
Doing donuts with the guy's car with the guy looking at him.
Oh man, that's what I mean. This is great, and that's what I mean. There's no big surprises in the movie like this, but it's just there to enjoy. You're just enjoying it.
Yep.
Another thing I'll say about this kind of movies, I always love the movies that are like the movie within a movie, like the movie behind the scenes. You know what I mean? We're watching the behind the scenes stuff.
Right, exactly.
Getting back to Emily Blunt real quick, I got off. Getting back to her, even though she was like this girl boss, she didn't play a girl boss. I mean, she just kind of played a woman who's a director. I mean, who would have thought, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? She didn't have all the answers, She couldn't figure it all out. She wasn't, know. So, and like I said, the chemistry between them was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a scale here, 1 to 10, I'd probably rate this film I'd rate it about a solid 7.
7? Ooh, I'd say I'd give it an 8.
Give it an 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I'm giving it an 8, I love the TV show. I think this did a great job of. Let me ask you this: do you think they could do a sequel for this now, or they've already kind of spent this out? Here's the other thing I'm going to say too. When I was watching this movie, it just dawned on me right now to bring this back up. When I was watching this movie, it reminded me of watching like a long, and I'm not saying this in a bad way.
Okay.
A long. A TV version of the Fall Guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because the movie is a 2-hour runtime.
Yeah.
And I will say that it got a little slow in the middle. I mean, I know they're telling the story, they're kind of leading up to things, and it got a little slow. But when it hit, it hit pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they could have tightened it up a little bit. I think they could have probably taken some things out and really tightened it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I'm not complaining though overall. But. But to me, it just felt like one big episode of like the Fall Guy TV show.
Right.
Which I love. I mean, I think that's great. That's not a knock on it at all.
Right, exactly. And to answer your initial question, do I think this could lead to a sequel? Honestly, I think it depends on how much it grosses at the box office. I think it's solid enough as a standalone film to warrant a sequel because there's definitely room to expand on it therewith. But I think it's going to depend on how much money. If it doesn't pull in as much as the studio wants it to pull in, if it doesn't pull in like 40 or 50, or $6 billion or whatever, I don't know. If it doesn't pull in at least, I would say 140 million, maybe I don't know. Because it just seems like Hollywood, when it comes to the sequels, Eric, Hollywood is driven by, we all know, the almighty powerful buck. And a movie won't get greenlit for a sequel unless it is financially solvent the first time around.
That's the way Hollywood used to be. Now it seems like they're fueled by wokeism for the most part.
For the most part,
and how many Disney up in flame TV series have we talked about? That they just keep cranking this stuff out.
List goes on.
The Acolyte, which is coming out. I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of. But anyway, point being is, But I see what you're saying. I do agree with you. I mean, I think in this kind of film, I think they would have to definitely. I hope this is. We're going to get to another story right now. As a matter of fact, you brought up a good point. I hope this movie catches legs. In other words, it was a little slow in the opening.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we have a story here from Screen Rant that says the Falls Guy box office confirms a harsh reality after 2.4 billion phenomenon. Now, what this is referring to is that basically what they're saying is that the Fall Guy had a bad weekend, opening weekend. It only opened to 28 million.
Yeah.
Which is a bad weekend. So that's why I'm saying I hope this movie gets legs to where maybe word of mouth and stuff, and it keeps going and going and going where they make their money. Because I would like Hollywood to get the message that they need to make more of these kind of films. They don't all have to be blockbusters, and that's what this is talking about. 2.4 billion. They're talking about the Barbenheimer year we had last year with Oppenheimer and with Barbie, and with the amount of money that they made.
Yeah.
And that's great that they made that amount of money, but you're not going to have that every year. Every movie's not going to be a Dune. Every movie is not going to be an Oppenheimer.
And I mean, this is still a difficult time for the theater industry itself, because even though we are about 3 years removed from the COVID-19 pandemic, we're still having a difficult time getting people back into the theater because of the enormous availability of online streaming.
Yeah.
And bottom line, people just don't want to go to the theaters anymore to pay money to watch a movie on the big screen when they can wait for it 2 weeks later to be streamed on Max or Hulu or Paramount Plus or whatever. So the point I'm getting at is I think that these expectations are a little bit unrealistic, given the fact that Hollywood is trying to think of everything that it can to lure movie fans back into the theaters. That's just my belief on it.
Do you think they're really trying to think of everything they can to lure people back in?
I honestly do.
Yeah.
I honestly do. A lot of it not publicized. But look, I mean, Hollywood has a serious problem on its hands here, because there have already been a number of theaters over the last couple of years from the bigger chains like AMC and Regal that have shut theaters down.
True, yeah.
Now, granted, that was caused primarily because of COVID. But the point being is that streaming also, the advent of all this streaming technology partially aided in a lot of those theaters being shut down. People just didn't want to spend money to go watch movies in the theater anymore when they could just do it from the comfort of their own home. They no longer care about surround sound and popcorn, and they no longer care about the reclining seats or anything like that.
The home technology is not going to ever top theater, but it's catching up to theater to where it's passable for people.
Yeah.
You're not watching things on a 27-inch tube TV anymore.
Exactly.
And you can't. And remember, they would have to format the movies, the widescreen movies, to fit your TV.
Yeah,
I always say
the black bars. On the side
it's always like formatted for
Exactly.
standard TV.
And even industry execs, Eric, have come out and said, look, we're fledgling here, and we're trying to find ways to encourage people to come back to the theater. So they've openly admitted it. So I do think that, yes, they're trying to think of ways to make theaters profitable again.
Well, I would say this. I'd say they are and they aren't. I think that they are. They of course want people. They want to make money is the bottom line. And of course they want butts in seats and they want people in the theater.
Yeah, right.
But I think that a lot of these places have especially during the pandemic, have let their oh shoot, I lost my train of thought here. Oh well.
No, you're good.
No, let's see. Where was I going with that? I know a lot of. Sorry, folks. It's old man's disease, I guess. No, what I was getting at. Is I think what they've done is that they got a little greedy and let the streaming take over during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they didn't support the theaters like they should.
No.
Then when they're coming out of it, now they've got this whole DEI wokeism crap that every movie has to try to check all these boxes.
Sure.
That they're driving people away. People don't want it.
Yeah.
So I think they are and they aren't. They're kind of their own worst enemy, I guess, would be a good way to put it in that sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously you got a movie like this. Now listen, it's saying that because it opened to 28.5 million domestically, that the movie's earned back half its budget, suggesting that The Fall Guy isn't on course to profit. And so it's going to need a huge turnaround, which is sad because I think that this, for me, in my opinion, I think is a good movie. And this is the kind of movie I want to see in theaters and I will go see in theaters.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is going to send a wrong message if this doesn't succeed to Hollywood execs, to the people in charge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely. Because because if the film doesn't even come close to grossing its total budget for making, or at least go slightly over that, you're right, it will be considered a failure. And if it's considered a failure from that standpoint, then Hollywood won't necessarily look into doing a sequel, because they'll say to themselves, well, hey, this film didn't do as profitable as we thought it would. Why bother making a sequel if the first one didn't sell?
Yeah.
Again, unrealistic expectation from my point of view, given the time that we're in right now, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think it's really going to be sad if this thing doesn't succeed in that way.
Yeah.
Like I said, this movie is what it is. It's a fun movie. You can go. This is how I like watching movies. There are times I want to go see a Dune. There are times I want to see Oppenheimer, those type of movies, and enjoy that and really, engross myself. Then there are times, too, it's like, I just want to go and have fun, kind of turn off my brain, have fun, which is what I did for this movie. We were sitting there together, and, man, we were, like, busting up and laughing. Oh, here it comes. And we were like, we knew something. You know what I mean? We were just talking and laughing and having a good time. Not talking, actually, to the whole movie. We're not those people. But
yeah, right.
But I mean, we were just, like, saying, hey, check this out. Oh, man, that was so great. I mean, we were just, like, making comments and just having fun. With this movie. This is a movie that I have probably laughed at more in a long time.
That's true.
That I went and saw.
That's true. You were like laughing nonstop, and you were sitting right next to me.
Oh, I love it, man. I was loving it, man. All the callbacks,
right.
And like you're saying, just the timing, just the funny, the little.
Right.
I mean, the little, just the dumb stuff. Right. It was fun, and I hope, man,
And one of the producers of the film, Glenn A. Larson, was the producer of the television series. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so they had a guy there who was able to keep them true to the original source material and make sure they didn't deviate too far from the norm there and kind of get lost on their own little tangent, if you catch my drift.
And the other thing too on this, I'll say this here, kind of wrapping up. I know we're running up against it right now. Is that I've always loved the idea of the stuntman.
Yeah.
I remember, like I said, I watched this show as a kid. I watched, Hooper, Burt Reynolds, that's a stuntman.
Yeah.
All when it's this, I always loved, the idea of the stuntman and just, the tough guy behind the scenes is doing all the fun stuff and the jumps and the falls and the flips, and I don't know, man. It's just this. I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that.
I think you forgot where you were going in general.
I guess.
I mean, you're so geeked about this that you literally forgot what you were going to say.
I may have to cut this part out. This is ridiculous. No. Wait, where are you gonna do? Oh.
No,
do it. There we go. That's the Eric Award for today. That's my big award there. No, what I was gonna say though is I've always loved the movies with the stuntman. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. I always loved the movies with the stuntman.
Yes.
And man, it is so crazy. I can't believe I'm having such a hard time tonight. This is what's fun about the show, man. You guys are getting us. You guys are getting us here just raw. This is what it is.
Yeah, folks. Right? This is entirely unscripted, folks.
Yeah, this is unscripted.
Unscripted, raw. Off the cuff, completely raw as raw can be. So raw that Eddie Murphy is jealous right now.
It's hard. I'm thinking like 20 different things. Okay, but here's the deal. Okay, I'm focusing now. Focus.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I love the movies. Going back again, I love the movies about the stuntman.
Okay, got my finger ready.
Oh my gosh! You're putting too much pressure. He's got his finger on the button, ready to go.
Go.
Okay,
go.
I know I should have an explosion.
Like an atomic bomb explosion.
Yeah. Because we're talking about stuntmen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've always loved the shows and stuff, and kind of the stuntman. And what I liked about this is it paid homage to the stuntman. Yeah. And it basically said, hey, these people. There was even a point when somebody asked Ryan Gosling, his character, saying something about, do you guys get Oscars or something to that effect?
Right.
And there's like, no, there's no Oscar for stuntmen.
Right.
And we had talked about that one time, I think, in a previous podcast.
Yeah.
About how they never really truly get honored. These guys that are in some instances. Now I know in the digital age, it's a whole different game. But I mean, some of these guys are putting their lives on the line. I mean, there's, all the time out there doing their job.
Yeah. And we saw a glimpse of that in this film. I mean, there were scenes where you could actually see, Gosling's character, they would light him up on fire to portray a character who was lit on fire. And you see him falling, getting thrown through glass pane windows. And so you're right, Eric. I mean, the life of a stuntman and a stunt woman as well, it's not a glorious life. I mean, their bodies take a beating day in and day out. Sometimes they're on set 12, maybe 13 hours a day, getting beat up all the time. So I would imagine the studios have to have one hefty insurance policy for them, don't they?
Yeah, well, they probably do themselves too.
You're right. Self-insured there, huh?
Yeah. So that's what was great about this too, and that's what I loved about it because I've always had a special place in my heart for stuntmen and women that do this kind of work. I mean, I don't know if I could ever do it.
No.
I always, when I was a kid, you dream about it, right? You dream in the sense where you're out there playing pretend, and you're pretending you're the stunt guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean that's the other thing I really liked about this. During the credits scene, they actually show the stunt men doing the stunts, even for Ryan Gosling and stuff, and they even showed him doing some of his own stunts, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, they actually show that, and I just love that. That's what I mean. There's a special place, and these guys, when you watch a movie, you really have to take into account everything that goes into it, including these guys that usually don't get a lot of praise for what they do, these guys and gals. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And that was the other great thing about this, that it kind of sheds a little bit of light on that part of the industry, the film industry, that we usually don't get to see. So
you're right. I mean, they are in the credits of the film, but not till the very bottom there. So you're right.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know, any other last words on that? That was my last words.
Yeah. Any other last words on this?
Fall Guy?
Yeah, go see it. You're gonna have fun. And you know what? Even though there's a lot of cinematic themed action and violence in it, there's not a lot of blood and gore. So you can take your teenagers to go see it.
Well, I took my daughter, and she's 9,
and she loved it.
And she loved it. Yeah. That's the other thing too about it. It didn't have a lot of sex. There wasn't any sex. There wasn't any
not at all.
Gore. It was kind of a good. Was it PG-13? I think
PG-13,
but it's still pretty rated. I mean, it's still pretty a wholesome film, really.
It was, yeah. So again, my final thoughts. Glad I went and saw it. I enjoyed it, and go see it. You won't be disappointed. You'll come out laughing and cheering. You'll love it.
All right, there you go. It's Jason's final words.
Yep, my final words. Speaking of that, I gotta make.
That's the final music.
That's the final music right there.
I gotta go recharge my brain.
I gotta fall out of here. Yeah.
How did that song go? I can't remember.
Just some good old boys.
Didn't know that was Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
We better get out of here. Forget it. Right. All right, guys.
We lost it.
Take care. We will catch you on the next show. Please check out our social media.
Yep.
If you can, on the podcast, leave us a thumbs up or a review. We appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys later. Take care. Peace out. God bless.
See you on the next one.